Conversation, 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 conversation. Life's journey. Hey, conversation, 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 conversation. Let's talk about it.
Hello, welcome to Conversations with Moji. Conversations with Moji is the show where we get to, discuss life's experiences with one another. And today I have my personal friends, and I'm so excited to have them here with me to discuss, how it has been. But we start by them introducing themselves. I'm Mojisola Isaacs, and I'm the host of the show. So I'm going to start with Bimbo. I call her Beams, and she will let us know what she does, her full name and what she does, and where she lives. Bimbo, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. My name is Bimbo Adesanya. I'm a project manager, and I live in the UK with my husband and kids.
Thank you. Yes, Jumoke, please.
I am Jumoke Ogun. I'm a financial accountant, and I live in the UK as well with my family.
Yes, Tope.
Hey everyone, my name is Tope Okwanyika.
Tope introduced herself. It's her first time here, and I think I've known her the longest because we were both in the primary school, if not nursery school. So this is someone I've known for 45 odd years, right? About that.
Yes. So nice to be here. My name is Tope Okwanyika. I'm an advanced physiotherapist, and I live in Kent, the UK, with my family. Thank you.
Then we have the only man here, and we are so privileged to have you with us. So please, Jide, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. My name is Olujide Asa. I'm married to my Susie, and I have two wonderful, talented children. And I run a subsea business in Nigeria.
Thank you. Welcome to the show. And we have the last but not the least, a dear friend also, Olabisi. Can you please introduce yourself to us?
Moji, thank you for having me. My name is Olabisi Babagbemi. I'm an oncology nurse, and I live in the UK. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being part of this show. And today we'll be discussing aging, and as I said to my guest earlier on, one of the things that prompted me to do this is because I've seen people at different ages in life. I've been opportune to work with some elderly people, and I actually work with one of them right now. And I hear the things they say. Some of them are full of, regrets. Some are thankful. Some are wishing they did some things better. And even though we are not counted as old or elderly, we also have had experiences. And today we're going to be discussing some of the things we could do at this time, so that when we look back in, the next 20 years, we can say, yes, I'm happy I made this change when I was 50. Interestingly, all of us here are just about, the youngest just turned 50. And we have a little bit of experience. And I know that through the jobs or the things or our relationships with others, even our parents, we all have things that we can contribute and others can learn from. So I'm going to start with BC. BC, as a nurse, an oncology nurse, I know that there are things that from time to time you have seen and you have told yourself, I wouldn't do this because of this. Can you please share a few things with us? Lessons or something you have found out.
As an oncology nurse, I think it's kind of exposed me to help me see life in a different perspective, in such that nobody ever wishes sickness for themselves, but these things happen. So in my profession, I've seen people take sickness really badly, then I've seen people take it really well and take it that, look, I'm going to live one day at a time, and I'm going to try to do the things that I can do. And usually, what are the things that they want to do that they can't do? At that point in life, a lot of them, when you're ill, you're not thinking about amassing things. You're thinking more of relationships. So you're thinking more of, you want to unite with your family, you want to unite with your children, you want to do things better, you want to spend quality time, you want to do the things that you haven't done before. So I'll use different scenarios. So I have some patients that are very young, and I've got some patients that are elderly. The young ones are like, a lot of the time the question comes, why? Why is this happening to me? Why does it have to be me? So some of them might feel, really down and really dejected, But, I've seen some patients, very young patient, like there's a young patient I had, and every time I go to his house, he's always excited, telling me that, look, I've been here, we've traveled to Dubai, this is what I want to do. So his own way, because he's terminal, he's in his 30s, and his own way that the family are kind of like helping him survive through is, spend more time together. So the family always come, they plan trips, they plan that to like, that's what they kind of like, memories, build memories. Then I've seen the old ones that, some of them say, I've lived very good life, and I don't have any regret, and at that point in time, and when you think you're faced with death, you're not thinking of, you're just thinking of building more relationship, so some who are spiritual want to get closer to God, some who are not, some want to, maybe like, do the things they want to do, that, maybe like, in terms of maybe travel, in terms of, just, do exciting things, Then some don't stop. I've got some, I think I always tell people, I've got like 4 80-year-old women that, they have cancers and they're still very active. So they're still very, you go to their house, they're busy. The ones who are traveling, the ones who are doing business, the ones who are, who are gardening, the ones who are like, how will I say it? Who are like, they're active. So in other words, it's like, live every day well. And, in discussing these things, there's no how I'm not going to refer to the scripture, because the scripture says, give us this day our daily bread. Let today's day, have his own trouble, Then, in church, our pastor always says, live for the day. Live for today. The problem with a lot of us is that, yes, we want to plan, we want to, the future, but you're not even sure of today. You're not even sure to the end of this day. So when we live in the medics, I think my own kind of orientation of the, it's like, I'm thankful for today. Once I cross today, I just want to cross today, because tomorrow you just don't know. Some people's life change, in seconds, Maybe on Monday now, some people are getting very funny news, terminal or whatever. So just live for the day. Enjoy your day. Stop thinking about, enjoy your moment. And, the Bible says, wherever you find yourself, if you're a maid, enjoy that. If you're single, enjoy that. Wherever position you find yourself, enjoy to the fullest. Be grateful, be thankful, be happy. Stop thinking. A lot of people worry about the things that they can't change or the things they don't have. It doesn't matter, because, where you're thinking that, oh, I want to do this, which is good. Nobody is saying nobody should not pursue any, it's good to, set targets, set goals for yourself, do everything. It's beautiful, it's healthy. But you know what? Enjoy the moment, enjoy, anything you want to do, take that leap. And if you want to like maybe start a new venture, just do it, because we don't even know what the next day holds for us. A lot of us don't know, So, I mean, that from the little, experience that, my background has taught me,
To be thankful for each day,
Exactly.
to be thankful for each day and to build relationships. I know you talked so much about building that connection with our loved ones. I've been, with my profession and when I was in training, and one of the things I found out is because I have to do end of life, we are the ones that do the end of life thing and take off the support or whatever anybody has. And one thing I realized is when you look around you, most of the people around them at that time are usually family. You understand? And it's unfortunate when, twice I've seen people that when they were like, who would you like to call before we take this out? And they were telling them to write down something, or because they've not seen anyone come to visit them. And there was no one. There was no one there to be, at the end at that time. But now I'm going to be asking today, because you talked about building relationships, and I'm thinking about the Nigerian problems. I know a man wakes up in the morning. So I see people wake up, sometimes they're out of their homes by 4 a.m. just because of the traffic to the island. He gets to work, he's at work, and then he has to stay there till late in the night so that he doesn't mix with the traffic again. And some have to get home by 2 a.m. He gets home, there's no electricity. The generator is bad. Inverter is not coming on. I mean, how does that, and I see that was what somebody was telling me, that's why you see many men run to the beer parlor. Now we're talking about men that do that, but some of them is just to escape some of the pressures. So how does that kind of person build? He wants to be happy, as BC said. He wants to be happy. He wants to just, but the pressures, how are we able to manage that kind of thing?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think for those that live in Lagos, we say that they are superhumans, and we need to give them a lot of kudos, because I have lived and worked in Lagos over the years, and I can assure you it's very stressful. And the stress levels in Lagos have increased over the years in exponential proportion. You see people having to go to work. They have to leave their houses by 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., just to be able to get to work. I mean, I work in Lagos, and I know that the days I go to the office, I have to leave as early as that time in order to get to the office at a meaningful time, to start the work of the day. So imagine at that time, you're going to work and you're spending long hours to get to work. Even at that time, the strain in the mad traffic, having to drive through for those that drive, getting to the office. I mean, when you get to the office, you're already in a tense situation, because of all the factors that, you encounter in getting to the office. So you see a lot of people are edgy. It's difficult to form healthy relationships because you're always, on the edge, and you're always tense. And every little thing can spark anger. And that's why you see when Nigerians are together, they are talking about politics or religion or ethnicity, you see that, serious emotions running wild. So in the maze of all this, I mean, one of my bosses when I was in the bank, because I mean, the bank is also in Nigeria, for those that have been in the bank, they know that's also a tense environment because you have targets when you get to the office. You have just this psychological issues you are battling with in order to meet your target. There's so much pressure. So, and the guy was advising us in a training, how we can overcome these pressures, that you need to create an oasis of sanity in your mind. You need to create an oasis of sanity in the midst of the chaos that has been created in the cities that we live in. So, and that has to be a deliberate, it has to be intentional, to intentionally, deliberately form healthy relationships and to form good relationships. So it has to be intentional. And a lot of the times, like you said, a lot of us are spiritual, either we are Christians or Muslims. Most times, when you go to the church, you get some level of, peace, direction when you are encouraged. For developing healthy relationships in the midst of the chaos that we find ourselves beyond Lagos, even across the globe. The COVID came, there was chaos. We are having inflation across the globe, chaos, wars, chaos. So in forming healthy relationships, it has to be a deliberate effort in your mind that in the midst of crisis, I want to be at peace. In the midst of challenges, I want to be positive from my mind, because everything starts from there. The mind is a workshop that determines the outcomes we face in life. So, and that has to be done consciously. It has to be done deliberately. So that's where I will stop. Being conscious and deliberate out developing relationships, even in the midst of the crisis. You can choose that I will not allow this pressure or this tension to get to me. Because if it gets to you, that means you also have tension within you. Because tension will trigger tension. But if you have peace and calmness, if you have goodness within you, when the tension comes, your peace and your calmness will rise and it will overcome the tension.
Mm.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. So we choose to be at peace. We have to choose, we have to be deliberate, in our relationship. Actually, at this age, it's my daughter told me that sometimes we can't even, I'm talking to you, and I'm like, I can hear you, but really I'm not hearing anything. I mean, the brain has gone to other places. So, but you have to be intentional. Yeah, we really have to be intentional. And talking about well-beings, how we use our bodies, because without this body, we can't function on this earth. And one of the things that I've come to realize is there's no praying it out. You just have to work it out. You understand? We just have to work it out. And then, so I'm going to be talking to Tokwe, on how she can, some of the things she can advise us on, on how to manage this body. I talked about some on wheelchairs, some on this thing, and some of these things I believe Just like someone that decides that is going to keep smoking, he already knows. It's either he comes down with a COPD or he's going to be a cancer patient. He already knows all of those things. The same way, I think with knowledge, we can manage our bodies. So, Tope, are there ways you can advise us at this age, moving forward?
Well, of course, definitely, you know, as we are aging gracefully, physical changes occurs in the body. And, you know, I really appreciate what GD and BC, you know, talked about in regards to peace of mind and, you know, stressful situations, which can impact on our physical health as well and mental health. Because if your mental health is affected, you wouldn't want to do anything physically. And, you know, it's all a vicious circle, really. And as we grow older, our bones tend to shrink in size and density, making them weaker and making them more susceptible to fractures and you know things like that, affecting our balance, our coordination, and things like that. And all this can be prevented by exercising. That's usually my word, exercise. And when people hear the word exercise, they feel, oh, you have to jump here, you have to carry weight, you have to do. No, just walking. I'm sure my sister Jumoke can testify to that. You know, she's a great walker. Walking, you know, walking is a weight-bearing exercise. When we say weight-bearing, means that you're walking, you know, you're putting weight on your bones, putting weight on your joints. So it's a weight-bearing exercise, and it will help with improving the bone density. So just walking. And the guideline for exercising is 150 hours a week. So you can do 30 minutes a day over 5 days, you know, just doing that simple exercising. And, you know, that's the minimal guideline. So you can progress on that. You can increase that as you go along. And generally, as we're growing older, you know, those of us that are professionals that are working, we get to a certain age and a level in our profession where we're not as mobile or, you know, more sedentary lifestyle, working behind the decks and all that. I'll use myself as an example, you know, working as a junior physiotherapist, and, you know, I was really very active, managing gyms, going about, you know, doing lots of exercise. And, you know, as my profession has grown now, I'm more managerial, so I'm more behind the desk, but I can see a difference in how I am physically. And I tend to intentionally put that effort in to exercising. So there are different forms of exercise that you can do, you know, to help to improve your bone density, strengthen your bone, your muscles, and just to improve your balance. And because as one grows older, the balance and coordination is affected, and you tend to hear that lots of people are falling. And this is all, you know, a vicious cycle, you know, with sedentary lifestyle and, you know, causing weakness in bones and muscles as well. So you can swim. Swimming is a very good form of exercise. It works all the muscles, it works your lungs. And well, I do yoga, which helps with stretching as well, and also strengthening and balance. And what else? I'm just talking about the simple exercises. Carrying weights as well is also good. But these are just, you know, the simple ones that you can just, you know, go on and do. And then you can join the gym. You don't even need to join the gym. You can buy weights. You know, when I see my patients at home, because I see the older patients, you know, and in their home environment, I tend to, you know, try and devise, you know, weights that they can use. So a small 500 ml bottle of water, you can use that as a weight, or tin of baked beans as a weight, simple weight. You can fill the bottle with sand to make it heavier. So just devising things, you know, getting a little bit more mobile, moving around. And apart from your physical health, it will also help your mental health, help with stress. And like Julia said, you know, forming an oasis is very, very important, very vital. And as you grow older, you know when to say, you learn to start saying no, you know, to things, to people and to things, and not feel bad about, because you need to, you know, recall and just have that, you know, reflection and rest and think about things. You know, you're not being bad, but you just need that time for yourself. So having that relationship, building a relationship with yourself as well is very, very vital, because once you have that peace, then you'll be able to show love and you'll be able to extend it to others. So so in summary, I would just say, getting actively mobile, when you're sitting down, maybe if you have an Apple Watch, to try and set your stand reminders. I get a lot of stand reminders. Time to stand for 1 minute, I get up and stand. So just keeping actively mobile, getting up, walking around for no reason. I always tell my patients, just get up and walk around for no reason. You don't have to say, oh, you want to go to the toilet. Get up before that and just move around. So that's just my advice, really, with regards to as we grow older, we should tend to, and I know that folks in Nigeria, with all the helps that they have and all that, like, get me this, like, try and get up and move around. We don't have the luxury here. Our children don't even ask us anymore. Mom, you can do it. So I just believe in the principle of movement, just increasing your movement as you go along. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I didn't know walking could increase the density of the bones, and that's a good, thank you for that information. I've always thought that walking could reduce my height.
Let me also go back to, okay, we need to also, I forgot to mention that people that have joint problems, some people have joint problems, say, oh, they can't walk, or they can't. Walking is quite, I would say your footwear is very important as well when you're walking. Some people can just get up and start walking with slippers. That could impact on your joints. So getting the right footwear can also help with preventing injuries to the joints and when you walk. And like we said, little but often. You don't have to do 30 minutes at a stretch. You can break it over time to give the joints a rest. But as long as you walk, because walking also helps with cardiovascular, your lungs, getting air into your lungs and all those things. You need oxygen to carry the blood to the joint, to the muscles and all that. So everything is all, the walking, does everything for you. So yes, so that's it. You won't be short. You know what? As we grow older, our bones tend to shorten. So we should get shorter. So that's a matter of walking. So just get up and walk and strengthen those bones. And as women, especially women, hormones and the menopause and all that, it's impacted on the bones as well. And yes, so that's, I don't want to go into medication. I know BC might be able to advise on vitamins and all that, but I'm a great advocate for vitamin D. And anyone that comes to me and say, oh, I keep joint, have you done? I would say, go to test for vitamin D if you see if you're deficient. But yes, so that's really important. Even if you're in Nigeria, some people are in Nigeria, and the sun is there, they don't go out, to get their vitamin D. They stay indoors. You won't get it, So you might just take the supplement if you want to prevent going out into the sun. But that's just my take on strengthening the bones.
Yes, thank you very much. One of the things I realized or I've noticed is most elderly people around me that I've seen around here, they either have joint replacement or hip replacement. So I'm going to be asking you that later, but let me go on to Bimbo. So thank you so much for that, for the information so far. Thank you all. So Bimbo, money. I mean, I want to be 70 and be, at certain level. I want to be able to enjoy certain things. And so now I'm going to be talking to you about investment. With the way everything is, Jide already mentioned inflation. Now we're not talking about just those that earn dollars or pound sterling. We're talking about some of the little things we can put in place, looking ahead. I know BC mentioned that you just have to think of today, but then you're like, if I want to live, God says with long life, He will satisfy us. So if I'm going to live another 20 years, as the word of God is being fulfilled in our lives, what are some of the things I can do now?
Yeah, so I mean, ideally, with any investment, time is your friend. So most people, hopefully, you have some investment, or you're in the habit of building investments already. But even if that were not the case, it's never too late to start, is where I would start from. The very first thing I would always advise anybody is to think about what are you doing with what's coming in. So what you're earning. There are so many things that people get caught up in terms of what they're spending, that there's so much going out, there's not much left to be able to set aside for a rainy day or for the future. And so the very first thing, the very basics, is just making sure that there's discipline in terms of what you're spending. They're not unnecessary spends. And yes, there are some of the things that can be, ostentatious, that may not be necessary, but not even going that far. A very good example is, insurance. Some people have so much insurance that they're doubly insuring things that, because they don't realize it. So it's really just taking stock of where you have funds, your money coming in, and where those things are going out to. Just making sure that you're very tight on where things are going out to, so that you have sufficient leftover to be able to save for the future. And then thinking about saving for the future, the very first thing you want to think about is, if you're thinking about investing, especially if you're thinking of, I love stocks and shares, but then it does take a while for you to begin to see the return on your investments. And so you should be, sometimes it could be quick, maybe because you happen to go in at a time the market is growing, but you can't go in expecting to invest in stocks and shares and expect that you can plan to use the money in 3 months because it will double. It's unrealistic. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It does happen on the rare occasion, but that cannot be your plan. So the very first thing you're thinking about is, okay, if I'm investing for the future, I need to put the money aside and be prepared to put it aside for a while. 5 years is at least 5 years is a good time length to be thinking about. But then what happens if you've started investing and something happened, and then you needed a lump sum? Maybe either you couldn't work, and so your income went down briefly for a few months or whatever. The last thing you want to do is to be forced to sell your investments. And so it's always a good idea to make sure that you have some money that you can very easily get access to, that can cover at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, so that if there were such an emergency, then you could use those funds instead of cashing in any of your investments. So that would be, one of the things I would say would be the bedrock before thinking about anything going longer term. And then in terms of investments, yes, where do I start? It's such a broad topic. One of the easiest type of investments to get into is stocks and shares. And that's because of you can go in small. You don't have to go in big. So I know some people like properties, but then usually with property, they're quite capital intensive. You're into one single asset. Whereas if you're investing in stocks and shares, you've got, all over the world shares that you could invest in. And, you haven't got the concern that if one of your investments went down, then all of them would go down at the same time. Not necessarily so, because you've got the diversity. So first of all, I like stocks and shares, but other investments exist. People talk about property as well, as I said. But then when you're thinking about stocks and shares, if it's not something you're familiar with, there's a lot of information out there. You could start with a stockbroker, but at the same time, there's a lot of information out there that you could find out a bit more. I don't want to go into detail because obviously what what is available in the UK might not necessarily be the same in North America or in Nigeria. So I'm keeping it generic. So ideally, with any kind of portfolio, you're thinking about diversification. What that helps you with is just as a rough example, you're invested in an oil company and also invested in a house builder, as an example. Chances are, and then at the same time, I don't know, a technology firm. So right now, technology firms are doing fantastically well. But then, so are oil companies. But then there's some other companies at the moment that are struggling. So ideally, the idea of diversification is, if you've got your money invested in different types of investments, in different types of markets, in different types of industries, chances are when one industry is suffering, some other industries might still be okay. And so you wouldn't have a huge slump in all of your shares at the same time. And so some could balance each other out. And so that's the idea of diversification. There are also, apart from stocks and shares, you've also got bonds, which also give interest payments, coupon payments, depending on the frequency of the particular bond you go for. And so those are also a good idea to have within the overall portfolio as well. I mean, then obviously the other ones that a lot of Nigerians do, which is property, which can be a good addition to your portfolio. But I for me personally, I prefer to build up before I start thinking about putting a lot of funds in a single asset. So that's just a quick whistle-stop tour on building up an investment portfolio. So yeah, hopefully that.
Thank you very much. As we were talking, I was thinking about this crowd funding. Is it crowd? What they call it? When we all put it,
yeah.
So I'm sure that also exists in the UK,
mm-hmm.
right?